All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a super important CISA domain, Information Systems Acquisition and Development. You know, building new IT systems. If you're prepping for that CISA exam, this is for you. We're going to break down exactly how you, as an auditor, tackle this whole process, from that first spark of an idea all the way to launch day.
So here's the game plan. We're going to look at the auditor's role, get into project planning and justification, check out different ways to build these systems, talk about building in strong controls, and then wrap it all up with a handy audit review checklist. Let's get started.
You know, every single time a company decides to build a new IT system, it's standing at a fork in the road. Is this thing going to be a powerful asset that drives the business forward? Or is it going to turn into a massive liability, a black hole that just sucks up time, money, and resources? That's where you come in. As the IS auditor, your job is to make sure it's the former. You're the one providing that independent assurance that they're building value, not a disaster waiting to happen.
Okay, let's get into the first big piece, the blueprint. This is all about planning and justification. And let me tell you, the fate of a project is often sealed right here, before anyone's even thought about writing a single line of code. This is the foundation. For you, as the auditor, this is ground zero. It's your first stop, and honestly, it's where you can spot the biggest red flags early on.
So in any audit, the big question is always, who's responsible? You have to know who's on the hook for what. Think of this chart as your roadmap for accountability. You've got the steering committee, you've got management, but the person you, the auditor, really need to focus on? It's the project sponsor. Are they actually involved? Are they paying attention? Because they're the ones who have to sign off on that all-important user acceptance testing, or UAT. And trust me, getting your hands on that signature is like finding audit gold.
Okay, the business case. This is, hands down, your first piece of critical evidence. It's the document that's supposed to answer one simple question. Why? Why are we doing this? What's the point? What's the return on investment, the ROI, going to be? Your job as the auditor is to kick the tires on this thing. Does it actually make sense? Does it line up with what the business is trying to do? Or is it just a bunch of wishful thinking? A shaky business case is a huge warning sign that this whole project could be built on sand. Now let's talk about money. The budget is always a huge risk area, right? But what you really need to look at is how they came up with that number. Did they go for the quick and dirty method, the analogous estimate, which is fast but, let's be honest, not very accurate? Or did they do the hard work and build a detailed, bottom-up estimate? The choice they make here tells you a ton about how seriously they're taking this project. It's a clue about whether you can actually trust their numbers. All right, so these are the tools you'll see project managers using to keep things from going off the rails. You've got things like CPM, PERT, Gantt charts. Now look, you don't need to be a project management guru yourself, but you absolutely have to know what these tools are telling you. When you see a Gantt chart, you should be thinking, are they on schedule? When you hear about earned value, you should ask, are we bleeding money? This is how you get the real story and figure out if this project is actually under control.
Okay, so the plan is approved, the money is there. Now for the next huge decision. How are we actually going to build this thing? The path they choose here is going to have massive ripple effects on risk, on controls, and on your entire audit approach.
And here's the granddaddy of them all, the traditional waterfall model. Think of it just like the name says, water flowing down a series of steps. You have to finish one phase completely before you can even think about starting the next. It's very structured, very rigid, and creates a mountain of documentation. Now, it can work, but really only in one specific situation, when you know exactly what you need from day one and you are 100% sure nothing is going to change, which doesn't happen very often, does it?
And this is the big showdown you'll see out in the wild. Waterfall versus agile. While waterfall is that rigid, step-by-step process, agile is the complete opposite. It's all about embracing change, working in short little bursts, and delivering bits of working software along the way. Now, for you as the auditor, the million-dollar question is this: did they pick the right tool for the job? Because trying to use a rigid waterfall approach for a project where things are constantly changing, that's not just a bad idea, it's a recipe for absolute disaster. That's a major finding in any audit report.
Of course, it's not just waterfall and agile.
There are other flavors out there too. You've got things like prototyping, which is awesome for getting quick feedback. But here's the danger, and this is a big one for auditors. Sometimes those quick and dirty prototypes, the ones built with no security in mind, somehow end up becoming the final product. Your job is to make sure that when they build something fast, they aren't also building it insecure.
All right, now we're getting to the absolute heart of the matter for an IS auditor, the controls, the safeguards. Because look, a system can have all the flashiest features in the world, but if you can't trust the data in it, it's useless. You need to find evidence that security and integrity were baked in from the very beginning, not just slopped on at the end like an afterthought.
Here's a simple but really powerful little control, the check digit. It's basically an extra number tacked onto the end of an account number or an ID. It's calculated by a special formula. Why? To catch simple human errors, like when you accidentally switch two numbers around when typing, a transposition error. If you see check digits being used, it's a great sign. If you don't, that's a potential red flag for data quality right there.
Okay, if you're auditing any system that handles transactions, and I mean anything from banking to e-commerce to inventory, you need to know about ACID. These 4 principles are the absolute bedrock of data integrity. They are totally non-negotiable. ACID is what guarantees that your database doesn't get corrupted when something bad happens, like a sudden power outage. Let's zoom in on the A in ACID, atomicity. It's the all-or-nothing rule. It's super simple but incredibly important. Think about a bank transfer. You want the money to leave your account and arrive in your friend's account, not one or the other. Atomicity ensures that if any part of that transaction fails, say the system crashes right in the middle, the whole thing gets rolled back. It's like it never even happened. This one rule is what saves databases from becoming a total mess.
So beyond the big ACID principles, you've got to dig into the specific controls built into the application itself. You should be asking questions like, are there limit checks, to stop someone from accidentally typing that they worked 1,000 hours in a week? Are there sequence checks to make sure no invoices went missing or got entered twice? Finding these kinds of automated controls is the proof you need that the system can be trusted to do its job right.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So how do you pull all of this together into a real-world audit plan that actually works? Well, it all comes down to a good, solid checklist. This is what's going to guide your audit and make sure you don't miss anything important.
And here it is. This checklist is basically your playbook. It pulls together everything we've just talked about. You start at the beginning. Is that business case solid? Then, did they choose the right development method for the job? Were key roles properly separated? Was the testing, both by QA and the actual users, done right? Are the controls we talked about actually in there and working? And, the big one at the end, did they ever go back after launch to see if they got the value they paid for? Answering yes to all these questions? That's a successful audit.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. Everything is getting faster and more complex, right? The pressure to just deliver is intense. So what's the single biggest risk you as an auditor need to watch out for? Is it the temptation to just skip testing to meet a deadline? Is it forgetting to build in security from the very start? I'll let you think about that. Because as a CISA professional, figuring out the answer to that question on every single project, well, that's what makes you so valuable.